I'm Tracy Reinick, Zacks stock strategist, and this week I'm taking a look at several of the hot areas on the stock market and taking a deep dive into what's going on with these earnings charts. But today I'm looking at one of the hottest sectors of the year, and no, it's not tech. I'm talking about energy, the oil stocks. This is a first for me to actually be talking about these and taking a deep dive. But I know many of you are starting to look around at the energy stocks and you're wondering what is going on there. This week we're hearing from Exxon Mobil and Chevron, the two big oil juggernauts. What do their earnings look like? Are the analysts bullish? Let's see. First one out of the gate is Exxon Mobil, ticker XOM. And as you can see, this chart is filled with both green and red arrows. So the reds are the misses. This was one of the ones during the pandemic here at 11% miss. But over the last 4 quarters, they've started to turn around with either meets or beats. Let's see, this last one was a beat of just 7%, and we had a 10%er the quarter before that. And why is that? Well, because oil prices have turned around. Natural gas prices have turned around. Some of these are at 7 to 10-year highs. And so that is going to the bottom line with these big oil companies. They are also in refining. They have distribution. They're the full package. Exxon also big in chemicals, and that has seen big inflationary price increases plus demand. So their chemical side has been very lucrative as well. But this chart kind of tells you what's going on in the energy side. It was left for dead last year in 2020, but now soaring. That's what makes it one of the best performing sectors of the year here in 2021. And you can see the turnaround happened right here, right around when the vaccine was announced from Pfizer. So this was October 30th, vaccine announced just a few days after that, and the shares were off to the races. Now, 1-year return up 83.5%, but 5-year return, as you can see from way down here, still below its 5-year high, down 32%. So still a long way to go for those investors who've been in the shares for a lot of years. But what else is going on, and what are the analysts seeing now? Is the rebound mostly over, or is the $80 oil still going to be feeding into those earnings? And let's scroll down and see. I have to go to the page. So detailed estimate page. And now we'll scroll down and check it out. So here's the current quarter. This is interesting. So the analysts are bullish in the last 7 days here. You have 2 of them raising in just the last week. 5 estimates have been changed in 30 days as that price of oil has gone up and nat gas. But over the last 30 days, 2 of them have also lowered. So they're tinkering around. They're trying to figure out what might happen this quarter, but that's a little more difficult because there's a lot of parts to these big oil companies, as I just said. They have refining, they have the service stations, they have the chemical side. So that's going to make it difficult for these analysts. But the fact that 2 of them are still getting more bullish is a bullish indicator to me in just the last week before this earnings comes out. So that's bullish. 3 of them have been revised for the full year. That's also bullish. And then 1 for next year as well, as these high oil prices are expected to kind of stick around. Now, what does it look like on the earnings side? So we have now 155 for this quarter. That's up from 131 just 3 months ago. So that's a nice little increase there, given the fact that they've had 4 beats in a row. And then for the year, they're also raising accordingly. And we see a nice increase here from 422 all the way up to 503. Next year, still seeing some more earnings growth, but a little more muted at 566. But as we're getting closer to next year here, this kind of quarter here will be key. So in 2021, they saw that loss of 33 cents. It was a devastating year as those oil prices plunged and demand, went way down. So all the rigs, many of the rigs were closed. All of that was happening. It was terrible. So we're going to see this 1,624% gain in those earnings estimates. But next year is really the key for when we get back to kind of like a normal market. What are they expecting? Still another 12%. So that's still bullish for next year. And like I said, this is the quarter when they'll be deciding, telling us what they might see happening for next year. And we also see it in the sales, huge sales bump up, obviously, as the global economy reopens, but still another 5% for next year. That's not bad for a company of this size, and a slower growth than what you would expect to see on like a tech type of company. So as long as you're seeing that growth, then again for next year, I'm liking that. Now, what does the price and consensus chart look like? It should look pretty good, but with a huge fall off. Yes, a huge fall off last year. And now we're seeing the rebound, but you can see the earnings not yet back to even 2019 here, even with the price of oil where it's at. So for these shares to continue to rally, I'm expecting to see the earnings actually, be above what we saw here in 2019 going forward. And if it does that, then the shares will probably reflect that bullishness, but we will see. Now, what's it looking like on Chevron's side? Because they've always been considered to be a little more the premier of the two big oils. Exxon a little bit more problematic, Chevron not so much. And here's their earnings surprise chart. You can see they've actually missed more than Exxon has in the last couple of quarters. They've had these two misses here, as well as the one during the pandemic. Not surprising. That was a huge miss, 70%. But these shares, too, have rallied off of those late 2020 lows, right when the vaccine came about. And now they're on the move as well. Over the last year, up 55% for these. That's versus the S&P 500, up 31%. So you can see why, again, they're one of the best performing sectors here. But what do these earnings estimates look like? Is anybody raising as well at Chevron? You would think maybe so. It's the Zacks #1 rank I see up there. And let's see. Well, we kind of have mixed here, too. We do have one analyst going out on a limb for the quarter, but we also have one saying, nah, I was a little too bullish, so I'm going to lower here. So I feel like they kind of cancel themselves out. So let's just say the analysts don't really know, and it is going to be tricky this quarter with everything going on in the fossil fuels industry, on both nat gas and on just everything, nat gas, propane, and on oil. So this is going to be tricky for the analysts, but I'm still heading more on the bullish side. We see two estimates revised higher for the full year. None have been revised lower. So I do consider that to be bullish. You can see the huge earnings gain here, 3,810%, as they lost 20 cents, expected to make 742. Next year looking a little bit better than what Exxon's was, up 15% instead of 12. Another raise there with 7 bullish in the last 30 days. So that's all looking good. And what does this price to consensus chart look like? Let's see. It should look a little bit better, but with the big plunge as well as Exxon had here in 2020. Yes, very similar here with the big plunge. And now we, too, are seeing the growth. But also, it's not back to 2019 here either. So I do expect, as I said, for Exxon, for this to be above the 2019 with these crude and nat gas prices. But the analysts just aren't there yet. Tune into this quarter, this earnings report, to find out what the companies are seeing for next year, because this is going to be vital to get some kind of insider guidance, if they're given it, onto what next year will look like. But I'm still bullish on the energies. Exxon trading at 12 times, Chevron at 15 times. Neither one is expensive, both paying those big dividends. Exxon at 5.5% yield, Chevron at 4.8% yield. So the energy sector might be one of the rare areas where they're going to be bullish on 2022. They're bullish already heading into this earnings season, but they may still continue to raise those earnings estimates as the global economy reopens. So you don't want to miss a single earnings all-stars, because I'm going to be covering more of the energy sector as we go along. These are just two of the big oils reporting this week, but we're going to be getting a lot of the producers and some more on the service side as we go along. So be sure to get all of our Earnings All-Stars videos. You can get them all on Zacks.com/YouTube. And I'll see you again next time with some more earnings charts.